Hello, my name is Sharon Dowie. I want to thank you for taking the time of your day to watch this video. Hopefully you find it interesting and maybe learn something. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I was born in Northern Ireland. I studied music at Leeds College of Music, and then I studied music and education, including special education, at the University of Ulster in Northern Ireland. After qualifying, I taught music for junior high and high school. I came to Canada many years ago, and when I came to Canada, I got into early childhood music. I ran a music school, and I specialized in early childhood, taking my music programs to many schools and many daycares. In 2016, I studied harp therapy, and I now primarily work as a harp therapist, working with children with autism in the schools. I also still do some early childhood music as well. Anyway, enough about me. If you haven't already got yourself a wee cup of tea or coffee, go get yourself a cup of tea or coffee, pause the video, and come right back and let me share some interesting information with you. So today I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about our sound environment, the music we listen to, the sounds around us, how that affects our day, how that affects our mood, how that affects our children's day and our children's mood. And then I want to talk about early childhood music, how music can help your child develop, how it can help their brain develop, it can affect their overall happiness, can help with daily routines, all kinds of things. But first of all, I want you to take a sip of that little cup of tea that you got and sit back and listen to the music that's going to follow. This is a recording that I made, and I actually didn't want to film myself playing because I don't want you to necessarily watch it. I put some other stuff in the background, which you can watch if you feel like it. But you can close your eyes and just think about nothing. Just relax. Totally relax. So hopefully you do feel relaxed now, actually. And did that music relax you? I'd be really interested to know. Sometimes we as adults, we're so busy. We are doing 6 million things for the kids. It's mommy this, mommy that, mommy. You can't even go to the bathroom without being interrupted. And we don't take that time to relax. So hopefully that helped you a little bit to relax. But, let's talk about our sound environment. I'm going to talk about music first. we actually don't even realize the power of music. But if you stop and think about it, you will. Can you imagine watching a movie with no music? How would you know when to be scared? How would you know when to feel, oh, that's so lovely, so romantic? It's the music that really helps us. I mean, one of the iconic films that if we think about Jaws, we're watching Jaws, before we even see a shark or anything, that music starts and we go, uh-oh, the shark's around. And sometimes nothing happens, but that music has us on the edge of our seats. So that, that is the first place that we can really see the power of music. With no soundtrack at all, a movie would be really, really boring. So, then we start to look at our own music environment, not just the music that we listen to, but the music that's on the background. And we actually don't realize that there is a specialized company out there who will, lots of them actually, more than one specialized company, who will design music and choose music for restaurants. So some restaurants will choose music that will make you eat faster because they have a high turnover and they want to get the next lot of people in. Other restaurants will want you to spend the whole evening there. They will have different music. There's music that helps you when you're shopping. It doesn't help us, actually. It helps them because it encourages us to buy more. I don't quite know how all of that works, but it is a scientific area, and these companies spend lots and lots of money researching what is the best music to play in certain situations. And if we even think about it ourselves, what do we like to listen to? I know that for me, I will drive faster if I'm listening to really upbeat music. When I come home after a day's work, what I need for my sound environment is silence, which is quite unusual. And I need that silence because my whole day is spent making music. And so my brain is constantly going to making music, listening to music. And I just need half an hour of absolute silence when I get home. And that's what recharges my batteries. When my husband gets home, he likes loud, blaring music, and that's what recharges his batteries. So we all have to think about, what do we need? So it's not just about the music that we listen to, but it's the sounds that we're bombarded with from the minute we waken up in the morning. What kind of alarm clock do you have? Do you have the blaring type? Or do you have beautiful music playing that wakens you up in a great mood? What works for you? I love the idea of the beautiful music to waken me up. Unfortunately, I am not that kind of person. If I put on nice soothing music, I often just incorporate it into my dream and it doesn't waken me. I need the blaring alarm clock, which is not necessarily the best way to start your morning. And then we get out, we got the sound of the hairdryer, the sound of the coffee machine, all kinds of sounds bombarding us. And some of these may not necessarily be the best for us and may put us in a grumpy mood because we just feel overwhelmed. So, we can think about how can we control that? How can we make that a little bit better? Or can we, in fact, put music that we like on in the background to mask some of these sounds? Masking sounds is actually was a big part of the harp therapy training. Many of the harp therapists work in clinical environments and hospitals where there are machines beeping, which stop patients from getting a good night's sleep or even a good afternoon nap. So we were trained to incorporate that kind of sound into our music to mask it. And so I would be playing the harp, and if there was one beep going somewhere and another beep going somewhere else, I'd try to incorporate the tone of both of those beeps in there so that the patient could then get a really good sleep because those sounds were being masks. So sometimes the sounds that are in our environment can be masked by something else, those sounds that are disturbing us. So that's something to think about as well, just to be aware of it, and to be aware of it for your children too. Some children get up in the morning and they need that quiet just to come around. Other children just bounce out of bed and they're ready for the day. So, look at your child, see what do they like, what can they handle, what can they tolerate in their day, and what makes their day happier to start with or all out throughout the day as well. Going to tell you a funny story about myself in the sound environment. So, one time I had to go to a hypnotherapist, and the hypnotherapist was playing some music in the background, and hoping that this would relax me and other patients. But I actually had to stop, and I had to tell her, please stop the music, because my ear was just going to the music, and I was going, oh, a little key change there. Oh, right, they're using a 7 chord there. And I just couldn't help but analyze the music that she was playing in the background. So I had to get her to stop the music, and that was the only way that I could go into deep relaxation. But of course, you actually don't really care about the music. You're going, she went to a hypnotherapist? Oh, really? Why did she go to a hypnotherapist? And did it work? Well, I went to a hypnotherapist because I was going to the Caribbean with my husband. We were going for an anniversary trip, and it was his daydream that we would go snorkeling together. But being afraid of fish is actually makes snorkeling a little bit tricky. So I went to the hypnotherapist to try and get over my fear of fish. And yes, it did work. Thank you very much. We went snorkeling hand in hand. It was very nice. Still a very nervous snorkeler, but it did work. Anyway, back to our sound environments and how that can affect us. Another way for us to think about music is we think about music as having gears, and different gears have different uses. So we have those slow gears, and those slow gears are going to help to relax us and help us to process the day and just put us in a calm kind of environment. Those higher gears are going to rev us up and speed us up, because I'm not for 1 second suggesting that we always listen to calm, soothing music, because that really doesn't work. We don't want to be sleeping all day, and we don't want to just constantly be in a state of relaxation. We do need to listen to upbeat music at some points too. And I mean, this can all be translated into our children and what do we want for them, and can be effective in the classroom as well. So for the classroom, I would suggest that teachers have calming music playing when the children are coming in the morning, and also calming music at recess when they're trying to eat lunch, and keep the children calm. But we still want those dance parties where we get the children up and really into it and active and having great fun. So we still need those upbeat things. We also need a certain amount of familiar music as well. If it's playtime, we want to maybe have that music in there, that the Old MacDonald Farm, and songs that are familiar, the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, because what you're going to find then is you're going to find that your child is going to sing along to those things. And let's face it, a singing child is a happy child. If they're singing, they are not whining. So we want to encourage them to sing. So, playing music in your day is great. Sometimes the children will, your own child will latch onto your favorite band as well, and you could just create bonding moments by singing at the top of your voices together. One of the things my husband used to love, he was a huge Queen fan, absolutely huge Queen fan, and the kids grew up with Queen music playing all the time. So it was absolutely amazing when Adam Lambert came here with Queen, and we took all our kids to see that. And it was just such a great thing, because the memories that we had created at home playing Queen and singing along to it were something very special. So that was very special. But you can create all kinds of bonds with your children over music. There's also been research on the chemical changes that happen when you listen to pleasurable music. It is actually meant to help with blood flow and oxygenation of the blood, and also keeping blood pressure low. So, just listening to music is such a beneficial thing to do. But also, the big thing too is, find the music that works for you. Find the music that resonates with you, that can change your mood, that can help you when you're feeling low, that can help you when you're feeling happy. But also find those sounds in your world that are really irritating you. Those sounds that, sometimes if we listen to fingers on a chalkboard and we just get so tense. I know that for me, I'd said earlier that my husband loves to listen to blaring music when he gets home from work. If I walk into that after I come home from work, my body tenses up and I just feel really tense and agitated. And, I try not to be, but I just can't help it because I don't need that at that moment in time, Other times I love it, but at that moment I don't need it. So try and analyze what works for you. What works for your child? Does your child go to sleep better if you're playing calming music in the background? Do they go to sleep better if there's some kind of rain sounds in the background, something like that? Or do they really not care? It doesn't matter. That's okay too, just find out what works for you, what works for your child. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm not giving you any set of rules. I'm not saying one thing's right and one thing's wrong. I'm just saying, think about it. Think about your sound environment. Think about what you can do for you and what you can do for them. Now I'm going to talk about music, your child's development, and brain development, things like that. So the first thing that we can say about music is music builds community. I've already said earlier on about our sound environments, about how many special moments we can create with music. Well, if you think about yourself, you go to a hockey game. What is it gets everybody going is the music. We start, if I was to start going, we will rock you. You're all going to join in. You're all going to have fun doing that because it creates a sense of community. So music really, really, truly creates a sense of community, and it does create that sense of family as well when we're all singing and participating in music together. But for a child, for a preschooler, music is actually essential to their development. There is no one center of the brain that is for music. So music actually develops many centers of the brain. The first one that I'm going to talk about is language. We retrieve and we elicit language from the left side of our brain. And music, melody is the singing part, la, 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 that comes from the right side of our brain. So whenever a child is having difficulty, or even not just difficulty, if they're a toddler and they're just learning how to talk, if we are singing something, it's kind of like the right side of the brain, the part that's doing the melody, will help the left side out. And what happens then is with that we create new neural pathways, and those neural pathways will help language. That's why we often see that a child can sing before they can speak. They can sing all the words Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but could they say them? Maybe not. And for those special students, as I said before, I work with a lot of students with autism. Music is absolutely key, music and singing, to their brain development. If we think about a neural pathway, what is a neural pathway? I like to think of it as a bicycle going over a track. And so at first, the first time the bicycle goes over the track, there's just a tiny little indentation. And as we keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, we're making it deeper and deeper and deeper until that wheel is stuck in the track and we can do it every time. And so that's what singing does. We first, do it and they can maybe get a few of the words out, and then eventually they get all of the words out. One of the other very useful things to do in song is to give what in the speech and language world we call verbal temptations. So we would give the verbal temptations in a song. For example, twinkle, twinkle, little hopefully you hear star, and so on. And those verbal temptations in a song are even more tempting for them. And so they often will fill in those words in a song before they will speak those words. So, I would encourage sing, 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 sing. But I mean, language development is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the advantages of music for your preschooler. So let me just list a few things, a few areas that music is advantage for your child. It will increase their joint attention. Joint attention means how long they can hold their focus and do something with you. It will increase their concentration, increase their memory, because memorizing a song is that first thing of memory. All learning is imitation. So imitation in music is the very first stage of all of that kind of learning, which is really to be encouraged. It will help with following directions. We can learn all kinds of things through music, counting, days of the week, things like body parts, the simplest one being head and shoulders, knees and toes, but we can add in other parts and have other kinds of songs. They get to release tension through singing songs that are active songs, that are moving around songs. All kinds of things really can be done in song. As I've told you already, I work as a harp therapist, and most of the children that I work with really are quite severe on, and many of them are nonverbal and have a lot of difficulties in school. So I will use music to help with in many, 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 many areas. And I often work along with the speech pathologist and the occupational therapist. So music can really help those motor skills. If I think about some of the things that I've worked on, a child who had a really weak left hand, they couldn't do anything with their left hand. So I would choose music activities that we were basically using our left hand all of the time to help with that. Somebody else that I was working with, and we needed to work on bilateral coordination. So of course, drumming is that bilateral coordination, is working on those gross motor skills. Whereas if I have a child who needs to work on that fine motor skills, something like a pincer grip, I'll get little baby cymbals and we'll be playing those baby cymbals, working on the pincer grip and, just getting those fine motor skills in there. If it's hand-eye coordination, I might do something like at a triangle that they have to hold up and hit with a stick, so that they have to get that hand-eye coordination exactly right to hit it with a stick. If it's just following directions at all, then I might do a song where the song has instructions, and the instructions might be very simple and they might be quite complicated, but just to help that following directions piece of it. So I would say that if there's any area that your child has any difficulty in, that try and think of musically how you can do it. The quite interesting thing for me is, in my harp therapy sessions, people will come in and these children will have had such difficulty in the classroom, and they'll be doing these things with me, and they'll go, I can't believe they're doing this. But it's because music, it's not that I'm anything special. It's just the power of music. And you can get them to do things without them even realizing that they're working on a skill. So I encourage you to do that at home. But just generally participating in any kind of music whatsoever is going to increase lots of areas for your child. Another way that we can use music in our daily life for our preschoolers is those routines. They don't want to get their shoes on. They don't want to get their coat on. They don't want to go out to the car. And so we can use music in those areas. We start singing a song, putting on our boots, putting on our coat, doing up the zip, zip. And, all of a sudden they will follow those routines. So I'm going to tell you about a practical application of that. So, when my youngest, I hate to admit this now, but my youngest is 24. But when my youngest was a little toddler, she had a babysitter who had a son with Down syndrome, and he's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful boy. But he became absolutely obsessed with my car. And so I'd come to pick up Emma, my youngest, and Josh would just want to be in my car. He'd want to come out to my car. And it got to be such a difficult, difficult thing. We didn't know, how to stop him from getting in my car. And his mom was getting frustrated. And of course, it was the end of my day. I wanted to get home as well. Although we were all very patient with him. But, it's just how are we going to solve this moving forward? Because we can't have this every single day, half an hour to get him out of my car. So I actually thought, oh, well, why don't you put into practice something that you do, that you preach all the time about music? So I started singing songs with him, and I go, okay, get out of the car, get out of the car, get out of the car, walk up the drive-in. And I'd be following, knock on the door, and it worked. It absolutely worked. And I got him into routine that he would still come out to my car, but I would sing this song in lots of different verses, and I'd get him out of the car. Within 5 minutes, he was back in the house again, and we weren't waiting for hours and hours and hours. So for you, do that with your child. Start singing songs. People may think you're cuckoo when you're walking around Walmart singing a song, but if your child's sitting happily in the car, do you care? Be as cuckoo as you like. The other time, that we can sing songs are, clean up. I mean, that cleanup song, I remember with my kids, I would start to sing that song. They'd be in the bathtub. I'd start to sing that song, and I wouldn't even have to say, clean up the toys. I just start singing the clean up, everybody, everywhere song, and they'd be putting all the toys away because that was their cue to clean up, was that song. And I think the other problem that we have as parents too is, so you're probably sitting there going, oh, it's all right for her. She's comfortable singing. She can sing. We can all sing. And you know what? Do we all sound beautiful? No. Am I going to be on the radio anytime soon? No. But we shouldn't think that we can't sing, because we absolutely can. And, the other thing is too, that we can all make music. You do not have to be a music teacher to make music part of your home life. You don't have to be a music teacher to sing to your child. So I would just say, have as much music around you as you can. Make music. Really, it really makes a big, big difference. One of the things that I studied as a harp therapist was the effect of vibration on the body. If you're interested in that at all, there's a whole study on cymatics, and you could just go to YouTube, put in cymatics, and you can see how matter is affected by sound. So some of the ones that I've watched, what happens is they have sand on a slab, and they will change the frequency of the note, and it creates this beautiful art. And so this art is, it changes with the frequency. If it's a very low frequency, then it's the artwork is very different than the high frequency artwork. And so if vibration can do that to sand, what can vibration do on a cellular level? One of the things as a harp therapist, that the child will come into harp therapy, they will sit and have their own little harp that they strum on. And the vibrations from that harp are actually what regulates the body and sets them up for that learning that we do later on with other instruments, etc. But it's those vibrations. So, if vibrations and frequency can change sound, what can it do on a cellular level? So I would say to you, play music with your child. Now, that might be getting spoons from the cupboard. It might be making your own homemade instruments. This is a perfect time of year to make instruments. Who doesn't have one of those little plastic eggs from Easter lying around? Fill it with some rice or dried pasta or something. Tape it up, because you do not want your child to shake that and for it to go all over your floor. You do not want that. That will not be very relaxing at all. But you can make your own little egg maracas, and then they're getting the vibrations of that in their body. You're creating music together, you're creating memories together. You can put stickers over those little eggs and just, have fun. So you do not have to be a music teacher. You do not have to be good at music to include music in your daily life at home. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is to maybe have a special song with your child. I would have a bedtime. I have 4 children, and I would have a bedtime song for them, and they all had their own separate bedtime song. And a very cute story. My youngest, Emma, you've heard me mentioning her name already. Emma, when she was I think she was about 6, and she fell and she hurt herself, and she was just crying. And at that point, I didn't use the bedtime song all the time, and I was cuddling her, and I said to her, "Oh, when you were little, I used to sing this little song for you," and I sang the song for her, and I said, it used to calm you down, and she just looked up through her tears and went, "Mommy, can't believe it still works." So, those special songs are just really, really special. They help to calm a child, and also just, again, creating that little bond between you and them. I have a brother who's 13 years younger than me, and I used to sing to him at bedtime, and it's really quite funny. I mean, my brother, he's this big roughy tufty truck driver, and not that all truck drivers are roughy tufty, but he is, and he's this big guy, and he's like, doesn't show his emotions, just very, 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 serious. And he actually confessed to me, which is so funny, that he was on a plane. He was going home from visiting us here in Canada, and they started to sing the special song that I used to play to him. And he said he cried. So that was quite hilarious. If you met him, he's not the emotional type at all. So for him to cry just because he heard his sister's song that she used to sing to him. But that's the power. That's the power of music, and that's the power of the memories that you have the ability to create with your child. As your child gets older, I would really encourage you to, if you can, if you manage it at all, to put them into some kind of formal music lessons. Music is one of the very few things that uses both sides of the brain. And so the brain development that happens whenever they play music is really phenomenal. And, there's been all kinds of research that has shown that it helps with math, it helps with comprehension, it helps with concentration. So, if you can put them into lessons, some kind of lessons, if they're interested, that would be great. With my own children, they absolutely couldn't stand it, because it was like, I would say, okay, well, music's like math. You have to do it. It's not an option in our house. And so they all thank me now that they can all play as adults, but the practicing at times was quite a strain in our family. But I felt like it was really important for their brain development, which it is actually. It really helps to develop areas that no other activity does. I don't think that putting them into formal lessons when they're really young, like they're in preschool now, so I don't see that as a huge advantage, because sometimes they will learn in 1 year what it took them 3 years to learn when they were really, really young. So, if I had to pick an ideal age for private lessons, I would say probably halfway through grade 1 is a great starting point. In those early years, just put them into fun music classes if you can find them around, or, let's say, make your own at home. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found something interesting and maybe learned something along the way today. And in closing, all I can say to you is sing, 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 sing with your child. A singing child is a happy child. A singing child is not crying or whining. So sing with your children all the time. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day.